time for the Michael Huddleston Show on HUDradio.com.
I appreciate your input. 832-699-0110. That is the number you need to call on the show. A couple of things to get to before we get to our main topic for the day. If anybody has been keeping tabs on what has been going on in the news lately, $2 billion lost by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank over some trading errors. Isn't that kind of interesting? They were a big bank that took bailouts back in 2008 after the financial collapse, and now they're up to their same practices again, losing $2 billion over what they claim to be trading practices. So that's very interesting. That's just something to note there. Also on the Texas side of things, something I find very interesting is how the Texas Department of Public Safety is reaching into the pockets of taxpayers and trying to pinch every penny they can out of taxpayers to help fund certain projects. Here's an example. It has been brought to my attention that a certain case in particular was brought before a Justice of the Peace Court the other day, where the driver's license division suspended a Texan's license for a period of 1 year because of a string of tickets he received 5 years ago. And he is not the only person that's in this situation, as the DPS has filed complaints against other people who have similar accounts of this happening, and there is no statute that says that they can't do this, number one, or there is nobody stopping them from doing this, number two. It's just sleazy. So that's also something to think about. We'll talk about that. Leave us your comments, your concerns, if this has happened to you. I definitely want to hear your story on this. This is something that kind of outrages me a little bit, because I don't care what government agency you are. I don't care who you are. If you're reaching back into past history, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, into somebody's driving record and finding out that they've had prior driving incidents, they've had 4 tickets in 12 years or 7 tickets in 4 tickets in 12 months or 7 tickets in 24 months, then the state of Texas are suspending their license. Even though that was 30 years ago, that's wrong, in my opinion. And I want to know your opinion on that. I think that's totally erroneous. I think that's stupid. And all I think that is just a general fund revenue building scheme. And it's wrong. And the state should be sued for that. And it doesn't surprise me that there is litigation against the state for stuff like that, because that's wrong. So leave us your concerns, your comments, your stories if that's happened to you. Again, 832-699-0110. You can also leave us an email at radioshow@hudradio.com. You can also visit our Facebook page at mhudradio. That's facebook.com/mhudradio. We also have our webpage at hudradio.com too. So our main topic of the day is going to be the Occupy Wall Street movement. Now, they tell us in radio, if you ever go to school for radio, which I did not, if you ever go to school for radio, though, they tell you, do not play long clips, because there's this little thing called a tune-out factor, where people just kind of tend to tune things out when you play long clips. Well, we're going to play a long clip, but I want you to listen to it. I want you to listen to what these people have to say. This was a group called Reason TV, and these people produced this clip where they went down to the Occupy New York or Occupy Wall Street encampment. They took a video camera, they took a microphone, and they went and asked questions about, why are you here, what do you stand up for, what do you think the solution needs to be, do you tell us? And these were their answers. And so we're going to get into all this. We're going to answer some questions that people have about Occupy movement, but this is how we're going to introduce it. So just listen to this clip.
So can I just ask, what brought you down here?
Just the fact that the corporations have gotten, the same rights as
dissatisfaction with politics in America.
Bring back our jobs from China.
This is being billed as a neo-60s revival of protest and performance, and it's not. This is a legitimate contemporary socio-economic disaster we're in right now, and the people here are responding to it.
The recent decision to allow unlimited donations is something that's completely unacceptable.
I think making all college education free would be wonderful and great, but then you also have to take into account, well, how are we going to fund these universities? And then you have to look into tax dollars.
I strongly believe that we should gear ourselves away from the monetary system and probably work for a resource-based economy, get back somehow in a way where we can barter.
You have to convince the central government that they have to empower the power that the banks have and take them over. But for that, that's why we're here, to convince people.
So you think the central government should take over the banks?
Absolutely.
To say there was a Republican administration, would you still trust the government to run the banks?
Republican? No, not really.
Who's controlling the information here?
Everyone. That's just it. Since there's no leaders, there's no edits, there's no spin, there's nothing.
Have you been down here from the start?
No, I came up, I got here Wednesday morning at 1 a.m.
I read that some of the demands are starting to get a little more specific, and one of them was universal. What's up?
I want to stop it right there and point something out for everybody. If you didn't hear what he was saying, right in the middle of answering the question, he was interrupted by another guy who had been there longer, who had been at the encampment longer. He was interrupted and asked how long he had been there. And so the guy talking to the reporter had told him, I've been here since last Wednesday. So the other guy says, well, no, I've been here longer. I'm more senior than you are. I'm more prepared. I'm more qualified to answer the questions. So kicks the guy out of the way and tells him to move on. Won't let the guy answer the reporter's questions any longer, and takes over. And so watch how this goes on.
I was just actually discussing with him that this is kind of a leaderless movement, but you just kind of pulled rank there.
I didn't pull nothing. I'm just going to tell you I'm more educated than the little kid is.
Yeah. So that would make you a leader of this particular part of the movement.
Absolutely. That information man.
Are you at work right now?
Yes, I am. I'm a local one, plumber's helper. I used to get $200 a week for 40 hours a week. $200, how are you supposed to survive?
9/11 has been the pretext for systematic dismantling of our Constitution and Bill of Rights. Obama's administration is reading from the same playbook as the Bush's administration.
I think there needs to be Wall Street reform, but we also have to remember that 1/3 of the city's revenue comes from Wall Street right now. Okay, 1/3 of the city's revenue stream already comes from Wall Street. I am disgusted with the thought of giving any form of subsidy to a bank, to a corporate entity. Right. It is despicable to take money from the citizens for a private use. Okay? I'm also against eminent domain, so I'm being constitutionally consistent when I say that.
I'm not a supporter of Barack Obama. They pulled the trigger on an American. I find it to be dangerous. It sets a bad precedent. And Ron Paul recognized it as well. And don't think that it's just going to be American Muslims that are going to get the bullet. You know, there'll be Christian Americans who will get the bullet as well.
I voted for Obama. Personally, I really don't think he's done enough, and he was dealt a very bad hand, and he's hamstrung. And all the politicians really are hamstrung. So many of them are just not really even able to act on their own conscience. Because they're at the mercy of these interest groups because of the way that our electoral system is run.
Say you're a pro-choice, your abortion rights group, and you are not permitted to have political speech 60 days before an election. How does that movement get heard?
The internet.
What is it?
The internet.
Would you vote for Obama again?
I have to vote for Obama again. The Republican candidates are just too scary. It would be irresponsible not to. But I do want to express my dissatisfaction with Obama, and that's why I'm here today.
Not completely democratic, but more like a socialist democratic, a combination.
Clinton's the one that took us off the Glass-Steagall Act back in the 1990s. He's the one, the Democrat,
that said, that allowed the bankers to do what they did. And that's exactly what they did. I like Mitt Romney. I believe Mitt Romney's going to do the right thing.
You know, this is actually an ongoing process of smaller events that all wrap up into a movement. And success is measured by the fact that there's actual discussion about financial industry issues.
It's not going to do shit. There's just a lot of humbugs down here. This is a place where you're not going to get arrested for sleeping for a night. All these people not going to be here in a little while, man. Let them really one bad wind come through, man. It's going to be empty, man. You know what I'm saying?
I still believe, you know, in the principles of America and the Constitution and capitalism as well. You know, you win, you lose. Now, when these corporations, these people, when they lose, they should just lose. This is life. You know, this is, I mean, it sucks. All right, great, you know. When I lose, nobody comes helps me.
All right, so that is the clip that was played there by Reason TV, and thanks to them for that. So that's it. I mean, that is the breakdown of the Occupy movement in its whole. They're just all over the board. They don't stand for one individual thing, and that's something that they pride themselves on, is we're just the voice of the people. We stand out here, we defecate on everything, and we have sex in public, and we do what we want. We want communism, we want socialism, we want North Korea style government, we want office of the citizens, we want all this other kind of stuff that just makes absolutely no sense in the world because we haven't really thought through it. But at the same time, we want change. We want change, we want change, we want change, we want change. Everybody wants change. But nobody has offered any really good plans for that change. So there was a document posted by Coop Media. That's COUPMEDIA.org, coopmedia.org. And this, I'm guessing this organization works hand in hand with the Occupy movement in some way, form, or fashion, because they have you have the ability, if you go to that website, to vote on a list of unofficial demands to make them official demands. And so really quickly and briefly, I wanted to go through them just to give you kind of an idea of what they are voting on to be the official demands of the movement. And of course, as you heard at the beginning, the young lady was talking about corporate rights as persons. Well, one of the things they want to do is eliminate corporate rights as persons. There is something just so stupid about wanting to do that, because eliminating corporate rights as persons means the government has control of corporations. You, as a business owner who owns a deli in Bryan College Station, would no longer have the ability to run your business individually. You would no longer have the ability to go into court to do disputes like an individual. It just doesn't make sense, and that's just the way a lot of these demands go. One of the other ones is to repeal the Patriot Act. Now, this is one of them that I actually agree with. I like the fact that they want to repeal the Patriot Act. I don't like the fact that you just want to repeal it, but there needs to be some kind of legislation that replaces it, and I'm not prepared at this moment to discuss that topic in length, but we will do that on the next show or a future show if that is something that is needed or something that y'all would like to talk about. Again, 832-699-0110. Let me know. Another one they want to do is a forced acquisition of the Federal Reserve for $1 billion by the U.S. Congress. A little background on this. In 1913, whenever the Federal Reserve System was created, there was a buyout clause. Now, this was created for other reasons other than what the Occupy movement wanted to do. However, that clause is still a viable option. Now, doing that would have irreprehensible consequences attached to it. The Federal Reserve is set up essentially as a way of checks and balances. It is set up to monitor what the government does with its investments. Without that, the government could do whatever the heck it wanted with its money. It could take it all from the citizens and keep it as its own. We could easily, very easily, be a third world country without the Federal Reserve. And because of the 7 individual banks we are who we are. That's basically simply skipping a rock over the water, the reason why you cannot repeal the Federal Reserve System. It's something that is basic and foundational to our Constitution and our way of life here in America. They want to restructure campaign finance legislation. That's not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea at all. They want to put a cap on donations, limiting it to $100, which is not bad at all. Which I don't have a problem with. I think $100 is probably a little low, but that's not bad. They would like companies to be investigated if they're donating over a certain amount, over $25,000. Again, not a bad idea. And this is something to think about. There's a foundation there for something to happen. They want real health care reform, but there's nothing else. It just says real health care reform. So that I really can't even comment on that because there's nothing to even begin to comment on. The sixth demand is end war on drugs. I mean, ending the war on drugs is, I don't know why. They say today nearly 500,000 Americans are imprisoned on drug charges, and they claim that in 1980 the number was 50,000. Last year, $40 billion in taxpayer dollars went to spent fighting the war on drugs. Well, I'll tell you how we can end the war on drugs. I'll tell you how we can do it right now. The way we can do it is raising our kids right. Raising our kids and showing them that drugs is not the right way to go. Raising our kids on a punishment system, not letting them do whatever they want to do. Because guess what, parents? Your kids ain't the best kids on the planet. And by letting them to think that leads to things like drugs. Raising your children right means they will not get wrapped up in things like this. That's how you end the drug war. You end the demand for drugs that kills the drug war. Not just making it legal so that everybody can do whatever they want with the drugs. Because that's absolutely the wrong answer and should not be supported by any American on this planet. And of course, if you keep reading down in this piece of literature, you see a little bitty, in big bold letters, clause that says that their legal department is not responsible for this statement. Isn't that a little interesting? They want education system reform, and basically to concise this, considering we're going a little over time today, they would like free health care from the bottom up using taxpayer dollars to pay for it. Not even going to worry about getting into that one. There's just a lot of things with the Occupy movement that are wrong, that you have to stop and think about before you say you support it. There are some ideas that are good with the Occupy movement, so do not get me wrong. There are a lot of ideas with the Occupy movement that are right, such as ending the Patriot Act and replacing it with something else, such as reforming the education system. Get rid of the Department of Education would be the first step. There are other things such as ending the drug war. That's a good idea. So there are great ideas that are coming out of the Occupy movement and great things that need to be discussed and that could be discussed. However, they're going about it wrong. So as Americans, you have to decide where do you stand on these issues. And as Americans, you have to decide what is best for this country, not what's just best for me. So, that is the Occupy movement in a nutshell. We really would like to hear your comments, your concerns, your questions on the matter. Call us 832-699-0110 or leave us an email at radioshow@hudradio.com or leave us a comment on the Facebook page at facebook.com/mhudradio. That's about all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Join us next time for more of The Michael Huddleston Show. Be sure and check out the Facebook page at www.facebook.com/mhudradio.